What is going on, everyone? My name is Marco Pang and welcome to the channel. Every Friday, I want to give you the rundown on the top 5 most important things that happened in Bitcoin this past week. Over the past couple years, my interest in Bitcoin really took off. I'm so obsessed and so passionate about Bitcoin that I dove headfirst in the topics like what Bitcoin does and what does it stand for, how Bitcoin can be used, and how Bitcoin can improve the world. I scoured the depths of the internet to learn more and to keep up with what is going on in the news. With that said, I know not everyone has the time or energy to research every day about Bitcoin, so I want to provide a top 5 list every Friday so someone watching these videos can stay in the know without spending too much time researching or analyzing. And before we dive into the video, if you like videos like this, please like and subscribe down below. It would really help out the channel and it would help spread the word of Bitcoin. So let's dive into it. Number 1, the price action of Bitcoin has been rough this week. The price of Bitcoin at the time of filming this video is around $35,800. This is about a 10% decrease for Bitcoin over the past week. Though the price action has been rough, a lot of the price action can be attributed to macroeconomic factors. The biggest rate increase by the Fed in 22 years, record high inflation, fear of an upcoming recession. But remember, Bitcoin is no stranger to volatility. According to Morgan Stanley, Bitcoin has had 15 corrections of 50% or greater since 2009. And most recently, when Bitcoin fell from its all-time high of $69,000 in November of 2021. According to crypto analyst and lead of prominent YouTube channel Invest Answers, the average Bitcoin correction is around 57% and lasts for about 89 days. Although the average period of recovery could take up to as many as 257 days. However, the gains generated for Bitcoin after a correction averages to about 362%. So remember, price drops and volatility this week are no stranger to Bitcoin. Volatility can be good or bad, but if you look over a long period of time, Bitcoin has been volatile to the upside. A 2-year return of 326%, 3-year return of 551%, 4-year return of 286%. During that time, if you had invested in the S&P 500 index, you would have returned over 2 years, 41%, 3 years, 41%, 4 years, 55%. Topic number 2, Fidelity, the nation's largest provider of 401k plans, said it would enable its participants to put a slice of their retirement money into Bitcoin. According to research firm Cerulli Associates, Fidelity held about $2.4 trillion in 401k assets in 2020, or more than a third of the market. And over 23,000 companies use Fidelity to administer their retirement plans. Under the plan, Fidelity would let savers allocate as much as 20% of their nest egg to Bitcoin, and it will be available by the middle of this year. So why is this important? The announcement could put millions of people closer to the direct investment in Bitcoin this summer without having to set up a cryptocurrency exchange. This means as much as $480 billion can now be invested into Bitcoin using 401k plan money that was previously not able to access Bitcoin. Most probably, not all of Fidelity's 401k customers will contribute 20% of the $2.4 trillion pie to Bitcoin, but I take an educated guess that some will. With the growing interest and money flooding into Bitcoin, and with Bitcoin's scarcity qualities, remember, only 21 million will ever be created. We cannot predict the future, but I think we have a good idea of where Bitcoin is going. Number 3, MicroStrategy reported its quarterly earnings on Tuesday of this week. The business intelligence software company / enterprise Bitcoin hodler reported its Q1 earnings. MicroStrategy reported revenues fell 2.9% to $119 million in the first quarter compared with the prior year period. Its net losses widened to about $130 million for the quarter from about $110 million during the year ago period. Last month, the company said it purchased about 4,167 Bitcoins for about $190 million in cash between February 15th and April 4th, bringing its total to 129,218 Bitcoins. So why is this important? The level of conviction held by MicroStrategy is second to none. They are the largest corporate holders of Bitcoin along with Tesla and Block, formerly Square. This move by Michael Saylor will either be looked at as the best trade ever made on Wall Street or the dumbest. Only time will tell. However, Michael Saylor doesn't stand alone in his conviction. As reported by Fortune magazine, 27 publicly traded companies hold Bitcoin on their balance sheet. The real question is not which company will sell their Bitcoin first, but which company will be company number 28, 29, and 30 to adopt Bitcoin onto their balance sheet, and who will be the first tech giant to do it? This week, Joe Rogan, the #1 podcaster in the world, had UFC fighter Khalil Roundtree on his podcast this week. For those of you who don't know who Khalil Roundtree is, here's a video of him reacting to someone saying Bitcoin is too volatile. The interesting part came when Joe Rogan said this.
The internet. I think they didn't see it coming, and now it's a viable form of currency. You can actually buy things with it, and I think the government is freaking out. I think what they're going to try to do is they tried to do some shit with the internet during the Obama administration, where they were going to try to censor the internet, and it fell apart because people were furious in the uproar, and they thought the political repercussions of it were not worth it. Like the juice wasn't worth the squeeze.
Now, why is this important? Joe Rogan has a reach more than Fox, CNN, CNBC combined. When the biggest podcaster in the world is a believer in Bitcoin and it reaches over 11 million people per podcast episode, it's going to open up Bitcoin to a new audience that previously didn't know what Bitcoin was. This past weekend, Berkshire Hathaway's investor meeting took place in Omaha, Nebraska. A question was asked about Bitcoin to Mr. Buffett, and Mr. Buffett had this to say.
25 billion or something. I'll write you a check. It's very simple. Now, if you told me you owned all of the Bitcoin in the world and you offered it to me for $25, I wouldn't take it, because what would I do with it? I have to sell it back to you one way or another. I mean, maybe I have the same people, but it isn't going to do anything.
This comment is nothing new for Buffett when it comes to Bitcoin. Buffett had this to say about Bitcoin back in 2018.
Comment, and you said, well, it's probably more like rat poison squared.
Probably rat poison squared and doesn't do anything. Doesn't sound like Buffett's a big fan of Bitcoin. What about 2014? In 2014, Buffett told investors to stay away from Bitcoin, that it was quote unquote only a mirage. Obviously, Buffett has had a very successful career, and he is one of the richest people on earth. I have a lot of respect for Buffett, though Buffett is also one to be quoted saying this: know your circle of competence and stick within it. The size of that circle is not very important. Knowing your boundaries, however, is vital. Berkshire has been in the business of investing in businesses that Buffett knows, like Kraft, See's Candies, American Express, and Coca-Cola. So it makes sense that Buffett doesn't understand Bitcoin, thus staying away from it. Now, why is this important? If you would have listened to Buffett in May of 2018 when he called Bitcoin rat poison, you would have missed out on a 305% return. If you would have invested $10,000 in Bitcoin in May of 2018, you would have $40,500 today. What if you listened to Buffett in 2014 when he told you to stay away and that it's only a mirage? Well, you would have missed out on just under a 6,000% return. So if you would have invested $10,000 on March 14th, 2014, your $10,000 would be worth just over $600,000 today. That is what's so special about Bitcoin. It doesn't need anybody to be successful. It doesn't need celebrity investors, politicians, or even you or me. That concludes the Friday Bitcoin wrap-up. If you like videos like this, please like and subscribe down below. I'm planning on creating a wrap-up video every Friday. With that said, see you next time.